welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Ben Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today. So we do the daily reading for James Allen's Daily Meditation for July 19th. And it's going to be probably another really good one. July's been just fantastic. I keep saying it. I'm just wondering if it's going to continue to build like this. Sometimes meditation books start in a certain fashion and they just continue on, like they build upon each other. I mean, right, we set the foundations in the beginning and keep on going, and this one just seems to be really hitting a lot of different perspectives, different aspects of living a spiritual life, different considerations to take in. And so I'm interested to seeing how it progresses throughout the rest of this month, but also the rest of the year, kind of if it is a constant building upon. So this will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, because this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right on the podcast with you. So here we go. This is today's reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations for July 19th. There is no striking a cheap bargain with prosperity. As the bubble cannot endure, so the fraud cannot prosper. He makes a feverish spurt in the acquirement of money and then collapses. Nothing is ever gained, ever can be gained by fraud. It is but rested for a time to be again returned with heavy interest. But fraud is not confined to the unscrupulous swindler. All who are getting or trying to get money without giving an equivalent are practicing fraud. Wow. Whether they know it or not. Men who are anxiously scheming how to get money without working for it are frauds, and mentally they are closely allied to the thief and the swindler under whose influence they come, sooner or later, and who deprives them of their capital. Prosperity must be purchased, not only with intelligent labor, but with moral force. Again, this is a perspective we don't talk about too much. I think this is the second one on finances, maybe third or fourth, maybe, in some tangential way. We talked about vanity and spending extra money, but so anyway, so not many, probably one hand. We've had readings about finances directly, right? And this is a really important one. This is talking about honest work. This is talking about honesty and integrity. This is talking about living rightly and working for what you've earned, and how temporary success was, how to say it, a seeming success from honest tactics will always be temporary. And I like how we said at the end, we would be guilty, or we would be, how did he say it? They are closely allied with the thief and the swindler, under whose influence they come. So the people that aren't being integrous, I think that's a real word, you can look it up, with what they're doing and how they are and who they are when they're making their money. Yeah, it is a word. Look at me go. Excuse me. Sorry about that. They'll be classified with the thief and the swindler. Because even if it's not intentionally deceitful, as the swindler and the thief might be, it's the same concept. So, let's go through this line by line. I love the opening line here. There is no striking a cheap bargain with prosperity. There's a cost to be paid for it, which Makes sense, right? You've got to pay to be prosperous. It takes certain qualities, certain dedication, certain practices, disciplines, mindset and thinking. Those come through time, experience, and failure, which is pretty important. It's not a cheap bargain to be successful and prosperous, which is something I have to remember. As the bubble cannot endure, so the fraud cannot prosper. A bubble will always pop. That's the thing. And a fraud might look successful and prosperous for a time, but it won't be a true and lasting prosperity if it's not based based on integrity and honesty. I like this too. It gives a little bit of the behavior for him, right? He makes a feverish spurt in the acquirement of money and then collapses. I've seen it happen. I've tried to get it to happen for myself in the past. Like I haven't always thought about money properly, and to be honest with you, I don't think I still do. I do. I think about it better. I do best. I actively try. I actively think differently about it on purpose because I know how I've thought about it in the past doesn't work for me. It always leads me to this similar spot life. So I've been that person that makes a feverish spurt in the acquirement of money in not so legitimate ways sometimes. Cutting corners, doing things I shouldn't be doing, and then collapses. So get a whole bunch of money and then it's all for naught. You've seen this. This is illustrated with a lot of lottery winners, isn't it? People win $1 billion, win 500 million, 200 million, and then it gets spent quicker than like it gets spent quicker than they realize it's leaving, which is amazing. And then suddenly they're usually worse off than they were. That's the craziest part of this. They're suddenly worse off than they were when they originally won the lottery. And more debt, and they've destroyed themselves and their financial statuses. It's pretty amazing to actually look at those statistics. So nothing is ever can be gained by fraud. Truly gained. Like I said, we're talking about lasting gain. You can give the appearance of financial gain through fraud and disingenuous tactics, but the reality of it is it won't stay. He says it. This next line says it all. It is but rested for a time, to be again returned with heavy interest. We pay the price for that because usually in these moments of haste and worry, guess what? We step on people's toes, we hurt people, we swindle people. People feel we have done them wrong. And then it all falls apart on us. And we're back to a worse spot, like I said earlier. But fraud is not confined to the unscrupulous swindler. All who are getting or trying to get money without giving an equivalent are practicing fraud, whether they know it or not. Now, that's a pretty big statement. Anyone trying to do the get rich quick schemes, everybody trying to make $1 off their neighbor, scheming and dishonestly, is just like the swindler. Whether you realize it or not, you're no better than the guy that does this intentionally, in the sense of maliciously taking advantage of people. We tell ourselves it's industrious. We tell ourselves it's the way the world works. We tell ourselves whatever we'd like to, just to justify our actions, to rip off our fellow neighbors, to rip off those in our communities for what? Our own personal gain, their own personal health. So read that last one again. All who are getting or trying to get money without giving the equivalent, an equivalent are practicing fraud, whether they know it or not. Just remember that. If you're just trying to manipulate something to get money out of it because you think you can, you're practicing fraud. Men who are anxiously scheming how to get money without working for it are frauds. Plain language there, are frauds. And mentally, they are closely allied to the thief and swindler, under whose influence they come sooner or later and who deprives them of their capital. Now, that's an amazing turnaround right there. The way the way James Allen's really structured this, and just a random disclaimer, I know this meditations book was actually put together by Lily Allen, James Allen's wife, after James Allen passed away from James Allen's writings. So, but the way this was put together, the men who are anxiously scheming on how to get money without working for it are frauds. Plain language, it's very important. And mentally, they are closely allied to the thief and the swindler. So they think like them. Like those work trying to get something for nothing regularly by exploiting other people's weaknesses is the same place where this thief and the swindler started. It's not too far of a jump to get to where they are. We're in the same mindset, right? Mentally, they are closely allied to the thief and swindler. And I love how he ends this actually. Closely allied to the thief and swindler, under whose influence they come sooner or later, and who deprives them of their capital. So he's saying these people, even if they get money to some extent, even if they get wrapped up in some lucky scheme, they will lose it all to someone that does it better than them. They will have that capital, that money, that reward from doing evil and sinful things for that love of money. They will have that removed from them by another who intentionally is trying to. I mean, this is a really steep one, a really deep one, because I think it's a steep order. Who wouldn't want to be doing a get rich quick scheme? Who wouldn't want to try to make free money? But it's telling you here, just like being fraudulent, you haven't earned that money. I'm grateful for this reading today just because it keeps me clear headed about this stuff. So, all right. And now the last sentence: prosperity must be purchased not only with intelligent labor, but with moral force. Prosperity is nothing if you've achieved it through sin and crossing moral lines and boundaries. It will do you no good. It will be gone. You'll lose everything. It's pretty amazing. It takes intelligent labor, purposeful, directed, and appropriate use of energy, woven over a moral framework and a moral code. Then prosperity is possible then. But we have to be doing things with the right motives, with the right intentions, in the right way. So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up there tonight. Thank you all for joining me as we jump into the 201st episode of James Allen's Daily Meditations for July 19th. And I'm looking forward to breaking the 20s in July just to see what it holds for us. So I'm really grateful for it. And thank you all for joining me. Until next time. Thanks.